This is a Russian 9130 Mosin Nagant rifle. This particular one's a sporterized version, but no matter what type of Mosin Nagant you've got, the question can sometimes arise about headspace and checking of the headspace. Now, the cartridge that's used in the Mosin Nagant, of course, is the 762 by 54, and that is a rimmed cartridge. So the headspace on this rifle is based on the thickness of the rim. Now, if we look at a drawing here of a CIP drawing of the cartridge case, let's see. It tells us that the thickness of the head of the rim is somewhere between 1.6 to 1.35 millimeters, which is 63 thousandths to 53 thousandths approximately. So that's a bit of a variation, but what we need to be certain is that the bolt will close on the maximum thickness of the rim of 63 thousandths, and if the rifle's got a bit of wear in it and so on, that it won't be so sloppy that the headspace, if you happen to have a cartridge case with a 53 thou thick head rim on it, then you still don't want to have excess headspace. So that's where we have to check it. Now, with a military surplus rifles, often components have been changed over the years, and or they've been refurbished. So, you know, it could be, it is common to have your headspace being too great, especially with a lot of wear and tear on a rifle. So the aim of this video is to demonstrate how to check that headspace. Now, we use gauges. There's different types of gauges. Now, I've got two different types here. Well, they're similar. These are American made gauges, and now to look at them, there's not much between them, but in actual fact you find that there's a go gauge and a no-go gauge, and that the go gauge is normally about 65 thousandths of an inch and the no-go gauge is about 73 thousandths of an inch thick. So if you remember what I said a moment ago, that the thickest rim thickness that we're likely to see on this cartridge is 63 thousandths of an inch, right? So it's not surprising that the go gauge is about 65, which is just a tiny clearance over that. So that's one particular type of gauge that you could use. This is another gauge. I prefer this one because they're a little bit bigger, easier to get into the chamber area, and these are Eastern European manufactured gauges. Now, there's other types of gauges too, some that are like a coin that will fit in, and they will work as well. So there's different types of gauges, but let's have a look at how we go about doing it. So we have to remove the bolt. Now, with these types of gauges, the problem is that the extractor gets in the way a lot of the time of fitting the gauge in there. It won't slip underneath it. Now, that's because on the 762 by 54 ammunition, there's a little chamfer, which is unusual. There's a chamfer on the edge of the rim, and that means that it will easily slip under the extractor, but the gauge doesn't. So we have to remove this. Okay, that's the first thing to do. So I'll show you how to do that. So we take our bolt and we release the pressure on it. Hang on, there we go. Okay, so now we've got to pull it out, and we rotate it, and we remove the head off the bolt. Now, this is a classic reason of how the headspace could be screwed up on one of these rifles, because if, for example, somebody swapped over this, from another bolt, well, there's no guarantee that your headspace is going to be correct. The extractor is got a little taper and it wedges in here as so. So I've got, it's quite easy to remove. I'll use a little bit of plastic rod and push that up. Just give it a little tap down. Let's just use a little bit of brass here to push it down a little further. And there it's, you can see there it just slides out like that, and that down here it fits into a taper. So we remove that. So now the headspace gauge can fit in here easily, the two different gauges, the go and no go. All right, so we have to reassemble the bolt, which is not too difficult. Position. I've got it in the wrong position. There we go. Have it in the right. I've got myself turned around. There we go. And now we cock the bolt again. There we are. So now we can reinsert the bolt, but now there's no extractor on it. Now we take our gauges. We've got a go and a no-go. So let's just pop the go gauge into the chamber. So like these ones could be a little bit bigger. Now we push the bolt forward and it will close on the go gauge. Okay, we can't extract it, but I've got a cleaning rod. Just pop it out here. Or now we put the no-go gauge in. The bolt won't close down. It goes down partial way and you can't push it down. Now that's perfect. The headspace on this rifle is very good, but that's not always the case with a military surplus rifle. So to ensure your safety, using a rifle, if its condition is not known, or whether or not it's been fiddled with, or the bolt changed, or the head of the bolt changed, then, or it's got a lot of wear and tear in it, then it's a good idea to check the headspace with some gauges.